What's up, everybody? We are introducing a new private podcast experience called the Black Love Dialogue. I am a longtime podcaster, Montoya Smith. I am a mental activist. I'm bringing my brother, Love, Vaun The Love Alchemist, on this thing with me. If you are ever seen the Mental Dialogue talk shows, you see here in the background, this brother has been on the Mental Dialogue talk show in um, for various reasons, but mostly when we're talking love and relationship. And so, what I've done with that 8-year podcast is invited some of our key co-hosts over the years to entertain a private podcast experience. We want to bring people something different that's on the internet, because unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that's on the internet is noise when it comes to marriage, love, and legacy. And so, for those that, if you're serious about love, marriage, and legacy, then you want to find out about this private podcast, the Black Love Dialogue, that we're going to be launching on 8 p.m. January the 25th. And I'm introducing you to one of our co-hosts. We got many experts, Vaun The Love activist, 30-year married relationship coach. So thank you for being with us again. You've been really, as I like to say on Mental Dialogue, thanks for being black with us, if you will, brother.
Yeah, man, appreciate you having me, man. I appreciate the invitation. And major shout out to you, man. Much respect for what you're doing, putting this together. I think our hearts are in the same place. So I'm looking forward to rocking with you.
No, absolutely. And I said I introduced people to Fowler earlier today, and you and her have been on a broadcast together on Mental Dialogue. And I'll say this as I introduce everybody, because again, I never know which one they're going to see. And so I always say, for all the solutions that we've tried to and practical solutions that we try to implement with the Mental Dialogue Community Club, we're focused on elevating the African American community. I've always said, for all of the various arguments and solutions that people come up with, whether it's political, economics, all these various areas, all of those areas, I don't care how good the solution is all for naught if we don't figure out this bond between the black man and black woman. And we know there's a history to dividing us intentionally, and it's like, with social media and technology, I think is actually speeding up some of that division. And so that's why we want to get away from the internet and go private with this Black Love podcast. So what I wanted to tell you first, again, thank you for being a part of it, agreeing to be a part of it. But I wanted to tell you why I selected you specifically, if you will. And and so over the years, you've always given us great advice. But it really starts when I was vetting you to bring you to Mental Dialogue, because I've always vetted anybody I said, hey, I want you to actually be a guest. And so I never really, with social media, I never know how I necessarily come across certain people, but some of it is because, some of my subject matter is in an area, and we in the same area where you was focused on relationships. So when I was doing that, so somehow social media got us connected. So I got following you through maybe some other mutual friends. And when I watched you on other podcasts, I was like, man, this brother's bringing a lot of wisdom. And then you announced how long you had been married to your wife, which is like 30 plus years now, since 18. I'm like, oh, these stories don't exist in 2025. This brother got a different story. And when I listened to your wisdom, I was like, we need someone who's figured out how to do what you've done over the last 30 years in current times. Because I grew up with the 30, 40, 50-year marriages, but that was grandparents, not people my age. So so really big ups to you pulling it off at current times, knowing that, from knowing you personally, you brought some of the tradition and grew up with some of that stuff too, but you've navigated it at current times. I don't know that we see a lot of 30-year marriages at current times, if that makes sense. So that's my why for you, brother. Any thoughts on that? And then I'll ask you another question.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's challenging, because we got a lot of outside noise. It's not easy navigating, old school values in a modernized scene or modernized setting. So yeah, it has its challenges, but my wife and I have been very fortunate. We just hit 35 years in December.
Wow.
So, but yeah, man, I appreciate the recognition, and I hopefully I can say some things and add value to the platform and share some things that people can use, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm here for it.
Good stuff. So my next question is just simply, why did you want to be a part of this private podcast specifically?
I think just listening to you talk about it, and listening to your why, listening to your reason. I think you come from a very altruistic standpoint, and that resonates with me because I always wanted to do it for those same reasons. Marriage is the relationship between the man and the woman, the black man and the black woman, is the cornerstone of anything else that we hope to build. Without that, really, I don't know how much it all matters. I mean, individual successes, yeah, that's cool, but without that family unit, man, it's just it's a bunch of shiny things, but no real substance. So, um, your reasoning for doing it resonates and aligns with my reasons for initially getting into it as well. So, I was looking forward to being a part of it.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you for agreeing to take part in it. And what I always say, and it's not to knock anybody's singular journey, you know what I mean? Because for some people that is for them. But generally speaking, most humans would prefer to be paired because we are naturally communal creatures, right? Again, if you're on an individual journey, you happy, more power to you, no knock to you. But for those who are serious about love, marriage, and legacy, this private podcast will be for you. You know what I mean? And what happens is what's difficult in current times is I don't know that it's necessarily that older generations understood what I'm about to explain, but we need to understand it in modern times because in a sense there's been an evolution, right? So the older generations had a necessity aspect to pairing, right? That's not there as much, right? And necessity will cover some of the areas that without that necessity, now we're breaking apart, if that makes sense. So there is a difference in that sense. There was a necessity in pairing and being able to survive. And I'm not trying to make it dire, but that necessity brought some of the bonding, right? So in current times, what we have to now understand, since the necessity at least appears to be different, right? Since that's the case, what we have to understand is, generally speaking, if you want to be paired, the thing is, you can only go so high on your own anyway. You have to have a partner, a relationship person to mirror and show you the shadows you don't know about. That shadow work that the other partner does for you will never feel good. And if you to go in not knowing that, people are leaving before they reach their highest heights, because without that pruning, there's places you can't go. I can only imagine how many renditions you and your wife have through 35 years of who you are. You've told me some of your stories and how you thought earlier versus how you think now. But that had to come from pruning, and you stayed together through that pruning versus splitting up and you saying, hey, well, I did it with the next wife because me and the first wife, we couldn't get through the pruning. Y'all are on the other side of it, and you see the value that a lot of people never get to see, the other side of who they personally could be had they stuck through the mirror, shadow work, and the pruning.
Yeah, J. Krishnamurti, man, he's a philosopher, an Indian philosopher. He said, "Relationship is the greatest classroom for self-discovery."
Whew.
And man,
That's
I'm gonna tell
good.
you that, man, that hit. Because you learn, you think you know yourself, but you really get to know yourself in the context of relating to other people. And there is no relationship outside of the relationship, of course, that you have with yourself. But the next closest thing is the one that you have with your significant other, your spouse. And boy, that'll hold a mirror up for you. It'll
Absolutely.
how you handle conflict, how well you handle stress, etc. So yeah, this is gonna be good, man. I'm excited about it.
No, absolutely. And so we're going to let people see just a little example of what they'll get if they decide to be a part of our private podcast. We are charging for the podcast. We'll start some promotions and let people know how they can be a part of the first one on 8 p.m. January the 25th, that Sunday night. But so you're going to see a bunch of these clips introducing to all the hosts. And so what we're going to do to intro the shows, just to give y'all a little taste, is we'll react to some current social media cuts around and have some discussion there. And then we'll also focus on a book called The Inner Work of Relationships. And that'll be season 1. And it goes into that shadow work and dealing with those childhood traumas and how to balance them inside of a relationship. Because what people what people think of even going to therapy and stuff, people are kind of foolish to think, oh, let's get two healed people to marry. And it's like, no, there's still things you can't see. So some will happen while in the marriage. And this book talks about what you need to do and what your partner need to do to bring each other along. So these are the conversations we have to have in current times, because we do understand this evolution of emotional intelligence, which wasn't as big of a factor in the past. So as much as we applaud relationships in the past, if we're going to pull it off in current times, these are the type of conversations we got to have. So let me play this clip right here and get your response to it, Brother Vaun.
If you really want to be married, there's certain things that you just got to stop doing. Our daughter's 21. She's in a very beautiful and committed relationship. Mm-hmm. She gets the balance of messaging that she needs from mom, but she gets the critical messaging that she needs from dad. Mm-hmm. And I told her one day, I said, have you ever seen the movie The Bodyguard? And she said, no. I said, come on. We go inside, watch the movie The Bodyguard. We're about halfway through. I paused the movie. I said, what have you learned so far? Every single time Kevin Costner is telling Whitney Houston's character what to do in order to remain out of harm's way. What happens when she doesn't receive that direction? Because this is real life right now. Because if your man is in charge of protecting, because a man is supposed to be provider protector. If I explain something to you because I understand guys, take my direction.
Right.
Because my job is to keep you out of harm's way. Every time you don't, not only do you expose yourself, but now you expose me. The world can't touch me until they touch me through you. So you got to take my direction so that I can protect the both of us. Let me tell you something. People really don't understand how hard in the paint I go for my family. One of the ways is me being Kevin Costner in the back with the earpiece while my wife is out here. Because if you get inappropriate out here, I'll knock your head off.
Hey, your response to that, brother, and how it applies to the relationships today. You're muted. You're muted. Come back. Unmute yourself. All right, go ahead, brother.
Okay. Yeah, 100% on point. And I think a lot of times when you just look at modern relationships versus, the way our grandfathers had it, they didn't have to explain themselves as much as we might have to explain ourselves today.
Okay.
But to the point that he was making in the video you just showed, oftentimes as men, I mean, we're willing to put our lives on the line to protect those that we love, and so if you have me in your life as your man, your protector, who's willing to put my life on the line for your betterment and for your well-being, you don't get to have that as a luxury without having me having some heavy compliance from you. Those two things go hand in hand. If I'm willing to lay it on the line for you, I'm going to need a whole lot of cooperation from you. And I think that tends to get lost because modern times, I think, makes people feel safer. Police are there, people have dogs, but there's still very real dangers out there that men are acutely aware of that I think sometimes women might overlook. And the two things feed each other. We need that cooperation from women in order to.
No, absolutely. Now, I love that quote from you. I'm so glad you're using it and putting it out publicly. That, hey, I'm not, me being willing to lay my life on the line, I need a level of compliance. And the thing is, I've said this to you personally before, and I'm glad you sent that clip to me, is that in modern times, men who are real protectors, we know it's more difficult to protect our women in modern times because of this misunderstanding that you speak of, right? Like we're very aware of it, and that's a hard thing to accept when you're a real protector. Phyla, who we introduced earlier today, I saw her saying this on one of her on her IG page, and this is beautiful. So the part of the reason I think some of that is skewed without, in a sense, talking about the feminist movement and all that kind of stuff. Part of it is just not understanding. This is how Phyla put it, and I love it. She was talking about men who are protectors. And so she says a man that protects with respect versus a man who protects without respect. And so what happens is in modern times, there's not a distinction for a lot of the ladies. But you know what I'm saying? Understanding a man who protects you while respecting you and how he speaks to you and how he leads you versus a good guy just expecting you to do it because he got it, because he a man and
Right.
doesn't do it with respect. She says the man without respect is trying to control you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a protection in itself can look similar between those two men, but the difference is the one that offers protection with respect versus the one that does it without respect. I think a part of the reason why that compliance is a little difficult is because, you know, and especially in the African American community, is we haven't had enough masculine covering for the ladies to know the difference.
Yeah.
So even when those of us who protect with respect, we're getting pushed back too, even though we're respecting, because some elements of us providing some provision feels like the same way as the man who would protect without respect. It's closely related, and without that distinction, it makes it very difficult for us to cover women, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. And what I always say, and I'm curious at your thoughts on this, I think that relationship has to be built not just when it's dangerous. And I think that's, in my opinion, that's when where the biggest confusion lies. I think most ladies think, well, if it's dangerous, I'm going to listen to a brother I respect. And I don't think you could do that on the spot, in my
Right.
personal opinion. I wonder how you feel about that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, how you practice is how you play.
Right.
Right. So I think some of us tend to be a little more diplomatic and a little bit more articulate when it comes to getting our point across. And then there are those of us who, they say women have, I guess 10 times more words in their vocabulary than
Right.
men do. I don't know what the number is, but you get what I'm
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of times where we don't necessarily articulate as carefully or as gently as she might want it to be. It might not be as palatable, but the intent is still there. It's still a heartfelt intention and a desire to serve her best and highest good. And I think there is a trust that comes along with that. A lot of our women, to the point that you just made, grew up without learning at an early age that reverence for healthy masculine protection, provision, covering, and even authority, if you want to go there with it.
Right.
And so when we get to this place where you have this man in your life and he's coming from this place of, yeah, there is some element of, I guess, control, for lack of a better word, if you want to,
Mm-hmm.
but
I think provision is the best, is in a sense maybe the more palatable word in 2024. I think that may be the same to what you're saying, but go ahead.
yeah, it's in the same vein, yeah, for sure.
But you don't want to lose sight of the fact that there is some control. So I do understand that as well.
It is, and
Right.
I think, but again, I mean, if it's, if you're trying to go here and I think it's dangerous over there, and I say I don't want you to go over there, there is an element of me
Right.
attempting to control how you move,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not because I just want to be controlling. It's because, look, if you go over there and I know it's danger over there, my life is inherently on the line once you get in trouble. And if I see potential danger for both of us, I need your compliance to keep us both out of harm's way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just you get in trouble and then you get to whistle and then here I come to save the day and then you have no accountability. No, we can't do that.
Right. Let me ask you this one question. I'll let you go, brother. I don't want to steal too much of your time for your first introduction to the people. 35 years. Can you think of how you've covered your family? Because I know you have children as well. Just maybe one on the spot where you could think of where they have no idea. Because again, it's just how you have to think all the time when you serve your family the way somebody like you does. There's a lot of covering that they never, in a sense, know about, generally speaking. So can you at least speak to it, and then we'll let you go.
Oh man.
It could be something small too.
Well, I was in the military,
Okay.
and I didn't like being in the military at all.
Right. I
And
feel you on that, brother.
if I listen, man, I mean, I a lot of this comes from me doing what I didn't want to do.
Okay.
Right? But I think we make these sacrifices, and we tend to make it look easier than it really is. And because we don't complain, they think, oh, dad's all right, you know. And I guess when it all settles out, I am all right. But, you know, there's a lot of grinding and gritting my teeth that I did, you know, grinding through those years in the military. There were times where I worked 3 jobs because I had me and my wife, we had 4 children, and I didn't want my wife was better at home with the children than I was. So rather than her being out and working the second job, I would like, no, you stay home. I'll go out and I'll get a second job. So I would come home. I go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. I get home at 3 with about a half hour to 45 minutes to eat, change into my outfit for my second job. And I don't get home again until midnight.
Wow.
And I did that for years.
Oh,
you know?
wow.
So these are ways that we make provisions for them. And they thinking, oh man, we hardly see daddy, but they don't understand that dad ain't just running the streets, or dad ain't just out there having the ball. He's making sacrifices for your betterment. So does that answer the question?
No, absolutely answered. And I'm assuming with the years y'all have together, your wife had your back in the sense that she was explaining to them as much as possible. Obviously, kids can only have to get a certain age before they can even begin to understand it. Yeah. But it also helps to have a wife who's making sure that he's not here, but here's the why, backing it up so that it can stay one intact family. So I'm pretty sure y'all were able to bond that together. But thank you for the time, man. I don't want to steal, again, too much of your time for this first one. We're going to get you back on here one more time before we launch, and we'll have a lot more details the next time we bring you on for anybody watching of how they can be a part of our Black Love Dialogue podcast. The one thing I will say for anybody watching, it's not going to be recorded. That's how sincere we are about getting people the right information. So you do have to be a part of the actual podcast to actually get the information. So just know that it's exclusive. You have to be a part of it, and we will get y'all that information the next time y'all see us. Thank you, brother. And till we meet again, looking forward to the last Sunday of the month to kick off the Black Love Dialogue with you.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it, brother.
All right, y'all. We'll holler at you. Stay in the background for a second once the screen comes up.